There are many things that we do today in church where some people ask, is it acceptable? Should men wear suits? Or is it okay to wear shorts during a worship service? Do women need to wear dresses? Should we worship with only using an organ or a piano? And is it okay for us to worship outside? Now, it's interesting because Paul's letter to the Corinthian church was written thousands of years ago. But in our text for today, Paul discusses something very similar to this and gives us an answer of what we should do today. Our text is taken from 1 Corinthians chapter 11, verses 1 through 16, and begins as follows. Paul writes, "Be imitators of me as I am of Christ." Head coverings. Now I commend you because you remember me in everything and maintain the traditions, even as I delivered them to you. But I want you to understand that the head of every man is Christ. The head of a wife is her husband, and the head of Christ is God. Every man who prays or prophesies with his head covered dishonors his head. But every wife who prays or prophesies with her head uncovered dishonors her head, since it is the same as if her head were shaven. For if a wife will not cover her head, then she should cut her hair short. But since it is disgraceful for a wife to cut off her hair or shave her head, let her cover her head. For a man ought not to cover his head, since he is the image and glory of God. But woman is the glory of man. For man was not made from woman, but woman from man. Neither was man created for woman, but woman for man. That is why a wife ought to have a symbol of authority on her head, because of the angels. Nevertheless, in the Lord, woman is not independent of man, nor man of woman. For as woman was made from man, so man is now born of woman. And all things are from God. Judge for yourselves. Is it proper for a wife to pray to God with her head uncovered? Does not nature itself teach you that if a man wears long hair, it is disgrace for him? But if a woman has long hair, is it her glory? For her hair is given to her for a covering. If anyone is inclined to be contentious, we have no such practice, nor do the churches of God. So far, the text. Now, it's interesting because over the centuries, there are some Christians that when they take a look at this text from Paul, they look at this as commandments that people should do. That men should not wear hats when praying or when they're in church, and yet women are to wear hats in church or when they are praying. But we must be very clear here, because Paul states in verse number 2 that he's commending the Corinthian church for maintaining the traditions. Now, traditions are different than what the Lord commands us to do in the Scriptures. Maintaining traditions is simply maintaining customs of the time. If it is proper for the time to wear a suit in church, then you should do that. However, if it is not thought to be graceful to wear shorts, then you could wear shorts as well. There are many reasons for this. But the important thing here is to remember what the difference of a tradition is and what a commandment that the Lord gives us. Traditions, for the most part, deal with what we are wearing at church, what we are using for music, and where we are worshiping. Also, in many cases, how. There are many traditions, some local, some regional. And one thing that we need to think about here is the only thing that God commands us to do is honor the Sabbath day and keep it holy. God commands us to worship. He just doesn't necessarily tell us how. So as Christians, we should follow what is proper at the time. If it is disgraceful, then we should not do it. But if it is allowable, then go ahead. God's blessings.